Captain Threx stood on the bridge of the Vorthon warship, staring at the blue planet below. His red eyes were cold. The humans called this place Earth. To him, it was only a target. He had waited many cycles for this moment. Now, victory was close around him. The control screen showed clear skies and no resistance. The ship's scanners found no strong weapons on the planet. All systems were ready. Soon, the Vorthon Empire would rule another world. Threx smiled. But there was one thing he could not forget. A message sent many years ago by a dying alien commander. It played in his mind again and again, like a curse. If you strike the humans, you'll never escape alive. Threx did not believe. In curses, he believed in power. His empire had crushed hundreds of species. Humans were primitive, still using old machines and weak satellites. There was no reason to fear them, but still, the memory of that voice made something cold in his chest. "Captain," said First Officer Varric, breaking his thoughts. "All weapons charged. We await your command." Threx turned slowly. His tall form cast a shadow across the bridge floor. "Proceed," he ordered in a low voice. "Prepare to fire on the largest city." The crew moved fast. Lights blinked red. Warning alarms echoed outside. The ship, the main plasma cannon, glowed bright. Suddenly, all lights flickered. The humming. Engines turned to silence. Every screen went black. The bridge crew froze. "What is this?" Threx demanded. "Power loss," shouted Varric. His fingers danced across dead screens. "Impossible," Threx hissed. "Restart them now." The lights came back, dim and weak. A single screen turned on in front of Threx. It showed nothing but black, and letters began to appear, bright red. "Turn back. This is your final warning. No signature. Just the words." The bridge was silent. Threx felt the cold again, stronger. This time, he clenched his teeth. "Trace the signal. Find the source." "No signal to trace," Captain Varric said. His voice trembled. "It appeared inside our systems." Threx looked back at the blue planet. The humans did this. "How humans are nothing," he said out loud, trying to sound sure. "They bluff." But deep inside, he was not sure at all, sir, said another crewman, voice small. "Should we consider retreat?" Threx turned his burning eyes on him. Retreat from this world of insects. He raised his hand and pointed to the weapons controls. "Bring full power back online." A long moment passed. Then a sound came from the walls, soft scraping like metal claws sliding across steel. Everyone turned. The noise moved behind the panels. "What is that?" Varric whispered. Threx walked slowly to the wall. He pressed his ear against the cold metal. He could hear it clearer now. Movement, crawling. "Scan for life forms aboard," Threx ordered. The sensor officer tapped keys. He looked up, eyes wide. "Multiple signals detected. They are inside the hull." "How many?" "Too many to count." The scraping sound grew louder. It moved along the ceiling. A shadow passed over the lights, then vanished. The crew stared upward. "Defensive units to the bridge." Threx barked. His voice shook with rage and something he could not name fear. Varric swallowed hard. "Captain, this is not possible." No vessel approached us. Threx looked at the screen again. The red letters were still there. Hand to wipe sweat from his forehead. He realized he was trembling. "Humans," he whispered. "What have you become?" The scraping stopped. For a second, everything was silent. Then the lights went out again. In that darkness, Threx felt the walls were watching him. The screen flashed bright. A new message appeared. "You were warned. Turn back now, or face extinction." For the first time, Threx thought about the old commander. Who sent the warning? He wondered what had killed him. Something touched the back of his neck, cold and metal. He spun around, but nothing was there. Only darkness and the shapes of terrified crew. He swallowed hard. His mouth felt dry as dust. "Reboot the systems," he commanded. But his voice sounded small. No one moved. The blue planet hung below them, silent and waiting. Threx knew that in all his years of conquest, he had never felt this before, not during Battles with the Sarlacc. It's not in the storm fields of Colredon. Not even when he faced death. He felt true fear. And somewhere in that darkness, heard the whisper of a human voice, quiet but clear. You'll never escape alive. Yet the darkness on the bridge felt alive. Captain Threx stood still, listening. Damn. Every second stretched longer, until he thought he might go mad. Then the lights flickered back on, weak and unsteady. The control screens glowed with red warning signs. Some showed damage reports, but none made sense. Others were just black, like empty eyes. Threx took a slow breath. He forced his voice to sound strong. Report what is happening on this ship. Was pale, his hands shaking. Sir, I do not know. All systems keep failing without cause. Our scanners cannot detect the intruders, then use cameras, Threx shouted. The sensor officer switched on the internal cameras. The screens, filled with images from the ship's halls. At first everything looked normal. Empty corridors, silent rooms. Then a movement. A small, fast shape darted across a passageway. Freeze image, Threx ordered. They studied the screen. The shape was like a spider but made of black metal. It had many thin legs and a small, round body. 2 red lights glowed where eyes should be. Varric leaned closer. What is that? Threx felt his skin crawl. Some kind of drone. But how did it get on board? Varric asked in a whisper. No one answered. Threx turned to the weapons officer. Lock all security doors. Contain the intruders. The officer tried. His screen blinked red. Access denied. It won't let me, he cried. Another camera showed more of the spider drones. They crawled along the walls, searching for something. The ship trembled. A low vibration spread under their feet. Like a silent growl, engineering Threx said into the com. Report status. Static filled the speakers, and a voice came through, broken and full of panic. This is engineering. The drones are here. They a short scream. Silence. Threx felt the cold fear again. It settled deep in his bones. He knew what he had to do, but pride held him back. He was a captain of the Vorthan Empire. He could not show weakness. Send defense teams, he ordered at last. Varric hesitated. Captain, you don't know how many there are. Send them. All over the ship, soldiers armed with plasma rifles ran into the corridors. The cameras showed them moving carefully, watching every shadow. On one screen, a soldier aimed his weapon at a drone. The metal spider paused. Then it leapt forward, faster than any creature Threx had ever seen. The soldier fired. Flash of blue light. The drone was gone. The screen turned black. Another camera showed a soldier running. More drones followed him, crawling along the ceiling. Threx looked at Varric. How did humans build this? They're supposed to be weak. Varric shook his head. I don't know, sir. The ship's lights flickered again. A new message appeared on the main screen. Turn back. This is your final warning. Is it broadcasting to the fleet? Threx demanded. No, Captain, the com officer said. This message is only for us. The ship trembled again. A deep, rhythmic sound echoed through the walls like giant footsteps. Varric swallowed. There's something bigger out there. It's impossible, Threx said. But he did not believe his own words. Another screen turned on. It showed the storage bay. A large metal door began to open by itself. The soldiers inside backed away from the darkness beyond the door. Something stepped into view. It was tall, more than twice the height of a Vorthan warrior. Its body was black metal, shaped like armor. 2 long arms ended in glowing blades. Its head was smooth with no face. On its chest, a bright symbol shone. A human flag. Threx felt the bridge grow colder, sir. Varric whispered, That is a human war machine. The machine raised one arm. A beam of white energy struck the floor. Soldiers screamed as they vanished in the light. The camera turned black. Threx's mouth felt dry. His heart pounded in his chest. He tried to speak, but no sound came. The screen flickered again. A final message appeared. In the same red letters, Last warning, leave this place, or you will not survive. No one on the bridge moved. The only sound was the soft hum of the ship's failing systems. Threx looked at the blue planet below. For the first time, he wondered if this was not just another conquest. Maybe this was a trap. And maybe the humans were not prey. Maybe they were hunters. Captain Threx gripped the edge of the command console. His claws dug into the cold metal. All around him, the bridge crew whispered in fear. The message still glowed on the main screen. Last warning. Leave this place or you will not survive. But Threx could not accept it. His empire had never retreated. He would not be the first captain to fail. He turned slowly to face his officers. They are bluffing, he said. His voice was low, but everyone could hear the strain in it. Humans are weak. Their machines are clever, but they cannot defeat us. No one answered. Threx slammed his fist against the console. I will not leave this planet. Ready the plasma cannon. Varric swallowed hard. Captain, our men are still fighting in the lower decks. If we fire, we cannot recharge the weapons quickly. It does not matter, Threx hissed. This ends now. Looked at the weapons officer. Target the largest defense satellite in orbit. The officer's hand shook as he typed. Target locked. Fire. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, outside the ship, the plasma cannon began to glow bright white. The energy built. Up, humming louder and louder. On the screens, the target appeared a large silver satellite spinning above Earth. Its shape was simple, old-fashioned. Threx almost laughed. This was the best they had. The plasma beam erupted in a brilliant white lance. It struck the satellite dead center, but instead of exploding, the satellite seemed to absorb the blast. The light faded, and the satellite was still there, untouched. What? Threx began. Before he could finish, the satellite rotated. A panel slid open. Inside, a glowing core pulsed blue. Captain, Varric shouted. Energy buildup detected. It's targeting us. Evasive maneuvers. Threx roared, but it was too late. A pulse of blue energy flashed from the satellite. It did not look powerful. It was small, almost gentle. The beam touched the Vorthan warship. Instantly, every light died. All screens went black. The engines fell silent. The bridge was plunged into darkness. Threx felt a new terror rising inside him. Tried to speak, but his voice would not come. Slowly, emergency lights flickered on. They were dim and red, like dying embers. Report, he managed to say. His voice was hoarse. Varric's face looked gray in the red glow. Sir, all systems are offline. Weapons, engines, life support. The comm officer tried to switch on his console. Nothing happened. Communications are dead, he whispered. Threx turned his eyes to the sensor officer. Can you detect the satellite? The officer looked down at his blank screen. No, Captain. For a moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the ragged breathing of the crew. Then somewhere deep in the ship came the scraping. It started softly like metal fingernails on steel. But it grew louder, closer. Threx closed his eyes. Knew the drones had returned. Seal the bridge, he ordered. Nothing gets in. The doors hissed shut. Heavy locks clamped into place, but Threx felt no relief. He knew these machines could go anywhere they wished. Varric spoke again, his voice weak. Captain, what if they are not bluffing? Threx opened his eyes. He stared at the red letters still frozen on the main screen. Leave this place, or you will not survive. He thought of the old commander's warning. If you strike the humans, you'll never escape alive. He felt something he had never known before. We are not leaving. He said, though his voice cracked. On another screen, backup power flickered to life for a few seconds. It showed a feed from engineering. Bodies lay scattered across the floor. Some were burned, some were simply gone, as if they had vanished. Into thin air in the center stood the tall, faceless war machine. Its black armor gleamed, turned slowly, scanning the wreckage. A small drone crawled over the bodies, searching for survivors. Threx felt sick. He looked away, Captain. The cum officer said, voice shaking. If they control our systems, they could steer us anywhere. Threx opened his mouth to answer. Then the ship began to move. Everyone felt its low, steady acceleration. Threx rushed to the main console. He pressed buttons that did nothing. Who is piloting this ship? No reply. The blue planet filled the front viewport. The ship was descending toward Earth. Reverse engines. Threx shouted. We have no engines, Bart cried. On the main screen, new words appeared. Welcome to Earth. You will answer for your violence. You will become the warning, Threx stepped back, heart pounding. He had believed humans were simple, weak creatures, but he had never faced anything like this. He realized the old commander's message was not a threat. It was the truth, and he had ignored it. The warship fell toward Earth, silent and powerless. On the bridge, Captain Threx gripped the rail. The screen showed the blue curve of the planet growing larger. White clouds moved slowly across the surface. He had never thought Earth would be his grave. The crew worked in panic. Hands flew over dead controls. Alarms glowed, but made no sound. The engines refused to start. Weapons were locked. Every command was ignored. Varric looked up, his face pale. Captain, we are descending fast. Impact in 20 minutes. Threx's throat felt tight. Try again, he ordered. Reroute power from non-essential systems. Already done, Varric said, his voice flat. Threx wanted to curse. He wanted to smash something, but he did nothing. Deep inside, he knew this was over. A new message appeared on the screen. You have harmed others without mercy. Now you will learn. The letters vanished. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the bridge lights flared bright white. Everyone flinched. A humming filled the air, deep and cold. Threx looked around in confusion. What now? On the side screens, a new image appeared. A live view of the planet's surface. It showed a wide area of green forests and tall mountains. At the center, something huge waited, a dark circular structure built into the land itself. It looked ancient. What is that? Varric asked in a hushed voice. The sensor officer studied the image. I don't know. No records match it. The ship's course shifted slightly. Now they were heading straight for that structure. Varric turned to Threx. Sir, we were being guided. Threx closed his eyes. He felt anger, shame, and fear all at once. He had believed Earth would fall in one strike. He had called the humans insects. Now they held his life in their hands. The ship shuddered as it entered the upper atmosphere. The hull glowed red with heat, temperature rising, the engineer reported. Shields offline, divert power to hull cooling, Threx shouted. Nothing responds. Outside the viewport, the sky turned to fire. Red and orange flames licked across the glass. The warship screamed as it fell. Still, the engines would not start. Still, humans said nothing. Varric clutched the side rail, shaking. If we crash, there will be no survivors. Threx's claws tightened on the rail. His mind raced. There had to be a way out. He would not die here, defeated and humiliated. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the heat vanished. The ship slowed. Everyone looked up through the viewport. They saw white light shining below. A beam of pure energy reached up from the circular structure. It caught the falling warship like an invisible hand. The ship stopped falling. Slowly, carefully, it began to descend, no longer burning. Gravity lock, the sensor officer whispered. They are bringing us down. Threx said nothing. Minutes passed. The warship floated lower and lower, guided by that silent force. When they were only 100 meters above the ground, the ship came to a halt. The light beam vanished, softly, and the vessel settled onto a massive landing platform of black stone. 4. The first time in hours, the ship was still. No alarms, no shaking, no fire. Only silence. Status, Threx ordered, though his voice was barely more than a whisper. Varric studied his panels. All systems remain offline. We are trapped. Threx turned to the viewport. The circular structure was clearer now. It was a ring bigger than any city. Symbols covered its walls, human symbols, but old. Older than any record he had seen. He felt something cold in his chest. These humans had power far beyond what he had imagined. A soft tone came from the cum system. For a moment, no one moved. Then a voice spoke, calm and emotionless. "You have reached the place of judgment." It was a human voice. Threx swallowed hard. "Who are you?" There was no answer. Instead, the main screen turned on. A new message appeared. "You came to take. Now you will give. You will give your fear." Threx felt a cold sweat on his neck. The bridge doors unlocked with a hiss. Everyone turned. In the doorway stood one of the black metal war machines. It was tall, faceless, silent. It raised one long arm and pointed at Threx. He felt every eye on him slowly. The machine curled its finger, beckoning him to come. Threx knew he had no choice. He stepped forward, heart pounding. Behind him, the screen flashed one final message. "This is only the beginning." Captain Threx stepped toward the war machine. Each footstep sounded loud on the silent bridge. His crew watched him, too afraid to speak. The machine waited without moving. Its blank face was worse than any expression. No anger, no pity, just purpose. Threx stopped in front of it. For a moment, he hoped it might turn away, that this was all some test. But it raised its arm again. A bright blue light swept over his body. He felt no pain, only a strange tingling. "Captain," Rhett cried out. Threx tried to answer, but he could not speak. The machine's light grew stronger. Suddenly, the bridge vanished. He stood in darkness, alone. A cold wind blew around him, though he knew it could not be real. "Where am I?" he shouted. His voice echoed back, thin and weak. A shape appeared ahead, a circle of white fire. Slowly it widened into a window. Threx stepped closer. Through the window, he saw memories. His own memories. He saw his fleet arriving in this star system. He saw his orders to attack any human ships without warning. He heard his own voice saying, "Humans are nothing. They will kneel or die." The scene changed. He saw the villages on the moon his fleet had raided. He saw human civilians running. As plasma fire burned their homes, he saw his soldiers laugh while the humans screamed. Threx felt his heart beat faster, tried to look away. A deep voice spoke from the darkness. "You came to take." The window showed more images. The day. Threx ordered the attack on the defense satellites. The day he ignored the message, "If you strike the humans, you'll never escape alive." You showed no mercy. The window closed. Threx was left in darkness again. He tried to speak. "I did what I was ordered to do." "But you believed humans were weak," the voice said. "You believed your empire was above judgment." Threx swallowed hard. Yes. There was silence. Then the voice spoke again. "Now you will see what your fear feels like." Suddenly, the darkness changed. He was back on the bridge, but it was different. The walls were cracked. Fire burned in the corners. His crew lay dead around him. "Varric!" he shouted. He ran to the first officer, but when he touched him, Varric's body turned to ash. Threx stumbled back. He heard metal footsteps. Turned and saw hundreds of the war machines climbing onto the bridge, their blades glowing. "No," he shouted. "This isn't real." But the machines kept coming. They reached for him. Their hands closed around his arms. He felt pain now, sharp and cold. He screamed. The scene vanished. Threx fell to his knees in darkness, gasping. His skin felt unhurt, but inside he was shaking. "You have felt the fear you gave to others," the voice said. He raised his head. "Why show me this?" "So you will understand," the voice replied. "So you will carry this memory back to your kind." Threx tried to stand, but he had no strength. "You will let me go?" "Yes," said the voice, "but you will not leave unchanged." The darkness faded. Suddenly he was back on the bridge. His crew stared at him with wide eyes. "Captain?" Varric asked in a small voice. Threx looked down at his hands. They were trembling. The war machine stood silent before him. It slowly lowered its arm. A new message appeared on the main screen. This is your last warning. Leave this world. Never return. If you strike again, no one will escape. Threx felt something break inside him. All his pride, all his arrogance, it was gone. He looked at Varric. Can we move the ship? Varric checked the controls. Yes, Captain. Systems are coming online. The engines hummed softly. The lights grew brighter. The war machine turned away. It walked through the bridge doors and disappeared into the corridor. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Threx straightened. His voice was hoarse. Prepare to leave orbit. Set course away from Earth. Varric nodded. Yes, sir. On the screen, the last message faded. The planet Earth hung in space. It was quiet and strong. Threx knew he would never forget what he had seen. As the engines powered up, he whispered to himself, we thought they were weak. We were wrong. And he knew when he returned to the Empire, he would tell the others, if you strike the humans, you'll never escape alive. Captain Threx sat in his command chair, feeling smaller than he ever had. Around him, the bridge lights glowed steady again. The systems were working, but no one cheered. The crew moved carefully, as if afraid the humans might change their minds. Engines at full power, Varric reported. His voice was tight, still. Shaking from everything they had seen, Threx nodded. Take us away from Earth. Maximum speed. The stars shifted on the screen as the warship turned. For a moment, Threx thought it was over, felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they really would be allowed to leave. But as soon as the engines fired, a low alarm began to beep. The sensor officer looked up, eyes wide. Captain, something is following us. Threx felt cold. Show me. The screen changed. Behind their ship, a small black object moved in the darkness. It was shaped like a long dart, sleek and silent. Varric swallowed hard. Another drone? No, the sensor officer said softly. This is different. It's broadcasting a signal.
Threx leaned forward. What signal?
The officer pressed. A button. A deep voice filled the bridge. Speaking simple words. Your crimes will be remembered. You are permitted to leave, but you will be watched. Threx felt his claws dig into the chair arms. He hated the feeling, hated being judged. But he knew it was true. They would be watched. Keep engines steady, he ordered. They flew farther and farther from Earth. The blue planet shrank behind them, but the black dart stayed in pursuit. Always the same distance, always silent. Captain Varric said, What happens when we return to the fleet? Will it follow us all the way? Threx took a long breath. Yes, that is the point. They want everyone to see. The crew looked uneasy. On the screen, the dart glowed with a faint blue light, a reminder that it was there, that it was not going to leave. An hour passed. 2 hours. Still, the dart followed. Finally, the warship reached the edge of the solar system. The stars were clearer here. The dark emptiness felt even colder. Varric looked back at Threx. Shall we jump to hyperspace? Threx hesitated. What if the humans had hidden some trap? What if their ship was no longer safe? But there was no choice. Yes, he said at last. Prepare the jump.
Ow.
The engines began to hum. The crew worked quickly, eager to leave. On the main screen, the black dart drifted. Closer. It stopped only a few kilometers behind them. New words flashed across the monitors. Remember the sphere? Carry it to your empire. Tell them we are not weak. Threx closed his eyes. He had no pride left to protect. He had seen too much. He opened his eyes and spoke in a low voice. Begin the jump. The stars blurred into lines of light. A deep vibration shook the ship. And then, with a final hum, they were gone. The darkness of hyperspace surrounded them. For a few moments, the crew simply sat in silence. Varric broke it first. Captain, what do we tell High Command? Threx looked. At him, feeling older than he ever had. We will tell them the truth, he said. We came to conquer. We were defeated without a single shot fired, and if they don't believe us... Threx turned to the screen. though it showed only darkness. Now, they will believe when they see that thing following us. Varric nodded, did not look relieved. The cum officer spoke next, his voice hesitant. Captain, the humans said we were permitted to leave, but they never said we were forgiven. Threx agreed. Because we are not. He stood slowly. Every muscle ached, every thought felt heavy. Postguards on every deck, he ordered. Monitor the dart. If it tries to dock or transmit anything else, I want to know. The officers nodded. Threx walked to the viewport. Even here in hyperspace, he felt the humans' eyes on him. We are not weak. He knew he would hear that voice in his mind for the rest of his life. After a long silence, he turned back to his crew. Set course for the fleet, he said quietly. We will deliver the warning. And if the Empire decides to strike again? Varric asked. Threx looked at the floor. His voice was almost a whisper. Then they will learn the same lesson we did. Captain Threx stood at the viewport as the warship dropped out of hyperspace. Before them, the Empire's main fleet waited in silent formation. Hundreds of ships, bigger and stronger than any human vessel, drifted among the stars. Their hulls gleamed like black knives. It should have made Threx feel safe. But now, he only felt dread. Open a channel to Fleet Command, he ordered. Varric worked the controls. His hands trembled.
Captain.
Captain. A moment later, a massive face filled the main screen. High Commander Salrex. His eyes were cold, his voice even colder. Captain Threx, Salrex began. You were expected days ago. Where's the rest of your squadron? Threx felt every eye on him. He straightened, though his legs felt weak. Destroyed, sir, he said quietly. Salrex's eyes narrowed. Explain. Took a breath. He could not lie. Not this time. We attacked Earth, we ignored their warning, and we were defeated. Silence on the bridge was thick. Salrex's voice turned sharp. Defeated. By humans. Yes, Threx said. But not in a way you can understand until you see it. He gestured to the sensor officer. Transmit our visual logs. The officer tapped the console. A red light blinked as the files began to send. Salrex said nothing while the data moved across space. He only watched Threx with hard, judging eyes. Finally, transmission ended. Salrex spoke again, his voice slow and deadly. You expect me to believe this? That humans have such power? They let you live? Threx forced himself to meet. That gaze. Yes. They let us leave so we could deliver this warning. Salrex was silent. Sir Varric said softly, there is more. We brought up the rear camera feed. On the screen behind them, the black dart-shaped drone hovered in. The darkness. Its blue light glowed steady. Salrex leaned forward. What is that? A watcher, Threx said. A reminder. It has followed us from Earth, and you are certain it is not a bomb. Threx nodded. If they wanted us dead, we would be. Dead already. The commander said nothing for a long time. Then he spoke in a low voice. Your cowardice has cost us ships, soldiers, and honor. Threx felt anger stir in his chest, but he swallowed it. No, sir, he said. My pride cost us everything. Around the bridge, his crew looked down. None of them dared to speak. Salrex's gaze moved to the dart again. This thing, you say it will follow you wherever you go? Yes, Threx said. And if we attack again, it will call others. He remembered the message. If you strike again, no one will escape. Salrex's face tightened. We will decide what is to be done with you. The screen went black. For a moment, no one moved. Then Varric whispered, Captain, he doesn't believe you. Threx closed his eyes. He will believe when the Watcher follows us into the fleet. Sensor officer looked up. Sir, incoming transmission, not from Fleet Command. From the Watcher. Threx's heart lurched. On screen. The monitor filled with blue text. Your fleet is seen. We have no wish for war. But if you strike again, you'll be removed. The message faded. Varric swallowed. They know we are here. Threx felt a cold weight in his stomach. The humans could see everything. Even this far away, another message appeared. Remember the last warning. This is the only warning. Threx looked at his crew. He could see the fear in every eye. He turned to the viewport. The Watcher drifted closer, bright blue against the darkness. Set all weapons to safe mode, he ordered. Varric stared. Sir, do it, Threx said. No one will fire without my command. Slowly, the crew obeyed. The warship powered down its guns. Threx knew the other captains in the fleet would call him a coward. They would whisper that he was broken. But he also knew something. He did not. Humans were not weak. They were not simple. And they would not forgive a second attack when he finally spoke. His voice was calm. Prepare the message to all ships, he said. Tell them what happened. Varric nodded slowly. And if they refused to listen, he asked. Threx's eyes stayed on the Watcher. Then the Empire will fall, whispered. And in his heart he knew it was true. The main fleet drifted in. Silent formation. On every warship, officers watched the same feed. The Black Watcher drone floating behind Captain Threx's vessel. Its blue light pulsing like a heartbeat. Inside the Empire's command ship, High Commander Salrex paced across. The wide bridge, his face was locked in a scowl. This is madness, he said. One human machine, and you all tremble. An aide stepped forward carefully. Sir, the message was clear. Again, Salrex cut him off. I will not be threatened by primitives. He turned to the comm officer. Signal all ships, prepare weapons. We'll fire on that. Drone and end this insult. The aide hesitated. Sir, Captain Threx is requesting to speak. Put him through, Salrex snapped. A moment later, Threx's face appeared on the giant screen. His eyes were calm but exhausted. High Commander, he began, I beg you to reconsider. If you attack that drone, you will doom us all. Salrex's jaw tightened. You have lost your nerve, Threx. No, Threx said softly. I have seen what they can do. You have not. Salrex turned away from the screen. Weapons, target the Watcher drone. Cross the fleet targeting systems. Locked on to the small black shape. Red lights blinked to show they were ready to fire. Threx closed his eyes. Then this is the end. On his bridge, Varric leaned close. Captain, do we flee? Threx shook his head. Out. There is nowhere to run. A cold voice filled every ship. Coming from the Watcher itself, this is your final warning. If you strike, you will not escape. Salrex glared at the screen. Fired dozens of plasma cannons flared bright in the darkness. Bolts of white-hot energy shot toward the drone. For a heartbeat, Threx felt time stop. The drone did not move. The weapons struck its hand, vanished into a shimmer of blue light. The drone remained untouched. On the command ship, alarms began to Scream, sir! An officer shouted. We are losing power. One by one, every ship's engines went dark. Weapon systems flickered and died. The lights dimmed until only emergency red glowed. Threx looked at the sensors. His own ship was powerless, drifting. The voice came again. You were warned. A new shape appeared near the Watcher. Then another. Hundreds of black drones emerged from the darkness. Each one glowed with the same cold blue. On the fleet's screens, a message flashed in every language. You have broken the last warning. Prepare to be removed. Threx felt his chest tighten. This was no bluff. Salrex's image returned to the screen. For the first time, Threx saw fear on his face. Threx, he whispered. What have we done? Threx swallowed hard. He refused to listen. The drones began to move. Not fast, but steady. Closing the distance, Varric grabbed Threx's arm. Captain, can we talk to them? Threx stared at the Watchers. He thought of the humans, of the voice that had judged him. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. Open a channel. To the lead drone, he said. Varric worked the controls. Channel open. Threx spoke into the silence. This is Captain Threx. I beg you to spare my crew. Spare the innocents among us. The drones slowed. The lead Watcher glowed brighter. We will spare those who did not fire, but the fleet that chose violence will be removed. Sal Rex's face grew pale. No, please. The watchers spread out. Each one stopped beside an enemy ship. Threx felt his heart pound. He knew what was coming. Varric, he said softly, cut our transmission. Power down all systems? Show them we will not resist. Varric obeyed without a word. On the main screen, Threx watched as blue light gathered around the drones. One by one, the Empire's warships began to disintegrate, silent and clean. No explosions, just metal turning to dust. Sal Rex's command. Ship was the last. Threx looked away as it dissolved into a cloud of particles. The watchers waited in the darkness. Then the voice spoke once more. Humans desire nitrogen monoxide, slaves. Humans desire nitrogen monoxide, slaves. Let this be the last warning. The watchers vanished into empty space, leaving only silence. On the bridge, no one moved. Varric finally spoke, his voice shaking. Captain, what do we do now? Threx looked at the empty starfield now, he said slowly. We go home. He knew the Empire would never be the same. Perhaps that was for the best. As the lights returned to normal and the engines powered up, Threx gave the final order. Set. Course away from Earth. And in his heart, he knew he would carry the memory of this day forever. The last warning had been clear. And this time, they would listen.